Yeah.
We're recording now. Here we go. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
All right. So I appreciate you coming on here, man. Fucking taking the time out of your busy schedule. You got a
No
lot
problem.
going on in between your personal life and the one-off shows and the tours you guys been doing this year. So I mean, it means a lot, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. My pleasure, man. My
So
pleasure. Yeah, it's kind of a hectic moment right now, but no problem at all.
yeah, no, it's good, man. Glad you found the time. I mean, I fucked it up yesterday. You had time yesterday, but some shit happened, and
It's all good, man.
dude, what a nightmare.
Shit
Fucking
definitely
life's a
happens
nightmare
all the time.
sometimes.
Yeah, man. Things definitely happen, and hey, we're here now, right?
That's it, brother. All right. Well, I can just start like so you've done a few podcasts that I know of. You've done a few with
Yep.
Toby and some other ones, but could you
Yep.
maybe just give like a brief like recap? Like, I don't know if people know that you're not necessarily a New York City native, but I do. Would you want to run down that real fast and how you ended up in in your
Yeah,
situation in New York and shit?
yeah. I'm not born and raised in New York, although I will say that New York does hold a special place in my heart, and um, I became sort of an honorary New Yorker for a long period of time. And, I hold that near and dear to my heart because I went there at a very formative time in my life, and it really helped mold who I am, in so many ways. I mean, everything in life essentially does that for you, right? Or it's supposed to do that for you. But yeah, New York is one of those places, one of those cities that really, really, I mean, it's for better or worse, it helped mold the person I am. I mean, yeah, damn near died in that city several times, but thankfully I survived and I learned a lot from it. So even though I'm not a native New Yorker per se, I do, you know, New York is very important to me as far as like, you know, running the streets there, the New York hardcore scene, obviously, things like that. But yeah, I was born in New Jersey, actually, right across the way, in a city called Passaic, and my parents were both immigrants, and they met in New Jersey. And so my dad came from Colombia, my mom came from Cuba, and they met there. They had mutual friends there in New Jersey. Actually, we lived in Union City most of the time, but I happened to be born in Passaic. I still have a lot of family in Jersey, Passaic area, more so Clifton, Patterson area, and even on further south and whatnot. Like I have family throughout Jersey, but yeah, that's my origins, I guess you could say.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just
yeah,
wearing
no
the
doubt.
bulldoze hat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're rocking the right hat because
Hell
they
yeah.
they definitely rep. A lot of those guys are Jersey heads. Um, so there's a lot of Jersey heads actually in the New York scene. Because it's so close. It's closer than like Long Island. You know what I mean? Like it's right there. But then my family moved down to Florida, and that's my whole Florida connection. Because a lot of people actually for a while thought I was from Florida, like born there, but I'm actually not. I'm actually born up north. My family went to Florida when I was 5, 6 years old, and then I lived there for a bunch of years. And then that whole time I was in Florida, I was always going to New York. I was always going to New Jersey because my brother was in New York. My aunts and uncles, cousins, I had people in Jersey. So pretty much my whole life I've been going up north either for summer trips or whatever it was. And so yeah, I have a close relationship to that area. And then eventually when I got old enough, or I don't think I was old enough technically speaking. Now being a dad, I don't think I was old enough, but when I turned 16, I there you go.
My
You laugh.
so my
I knew you were
son's
gonna get a laugh out
16.
of
So
that.
what we talked about, so just
Yeah. Yep. We talked a little bit behind the scenes, but when I said that number, I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Um, when I was 16, I officially moved to New York City on my own. Well, not on my own, but with my brother Roger. And that was started a whole other journey, really. Um, musically and otherwise. That started a real serious journey. I mean, I really feel like that's when, you know, like I said, formative years, man, formative years.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What year was that when you officially moved there when you were 16? Was like AF starting
91.
already, or was that
Oh,
still?
AF. AF were OGs by that point. I mean,
Oh
because
no shit.
if you think about AF's been around since '82. You know, maybe
Yeah.
even some would say earlier. I don't know what, you know, there's different like lineups. I mean, it's always Vinny. That's his band, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
But there were several lineups before my brother, but I don't really think it became Agnostic Front until Roger came into the mix. You know, he's the only one that's on the recordings and all that. But yeah, I would say 82, 83 were like AF's origins. That's their kind of starting time. So they're like a generation or more before Madball, you know? Um, and so by the time I moved to New York permanently, they had been a band already close to 10 years, probably, you know, almost, maybe a little less. But yeah, like I moved in 91 and yeah, AF was active. I mean, they had just came back into activity because my brother had gotten into some things and had some legal issues and went away for a little bit. So they had a hiatus from like 89 to like 91 around there. So they literally were on their way back up and getting reestablished as a band and working on that record One Voice and all that. And so which kind of really re-cemented them, that record, I think, in my opinion. So
So one of the best in my opinion. Yeah,
me too, man. Mine are like Victim in Pain and then like One Voice. You know
I'm
what I
right there
mean?
with you. Yeah,
Like that like in that order almost. But so yeah, that's AF's that's a point of reference, you know, for the hardcore nerds out there. That's like the time period, you know, that's like a good point of reference. But then so that's what was going on in AF camp. And for me, you know, Madball was sort of just like still just like a thing, you know, just like a behind the scenes thing. It wasn't really a full blown band per se. I mean, we had dropped Ball of Destruction in '89, and we did that in New York. Everything was New York. Everything related to Madball is New York. So regardless of where I was born or where I've
oh
lived or
yeah,
where like
no question, man.
Madball,
That's not even a question. If anybody
yeah,
questions that, they
conceptually, no,
get
but you know,
fucked.
there's always a couple of heads out there that are like, oh, you know, and I'm trying to give them a little perspective, you know, like that band, you know, is the concept, everything was like born in New York, you know, and obviously we recorded the first one at Don Fury's, you know, the infamous Don Fury studio in Little Italy. And so yeah, um, that had been recorded 88, 89 and dropped in 89, but like Madball wasn't out there like doing shows and stuff like that. It was like, you know, I would jump on stage with AF. Everybody knows that whole story. I mean, I had been doing that since the early 80s. Um, but like we really didn't reestablish Madball until 92. So like a year, you know, after I moved to New York permanently, then soon after that, we decided to start messing with Madball again, you know, because it made sense, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It just seemed like it was at first with like Vinny, was that kind of like his like side project while like Roger was gone? Is that what
Not
the idea
even, not
was?
no, not even. That
No.
was, you know, that was like nothing kind of happened when Roger was gone. Everything was kind of on pause. Everyone just
Oh,
went
okay.
about their lives. Not even Madball really. Madball was a concept that came from like, you know, Vinny giving me the nickname Madball, which goofy nickname, which, you know, it works now. But if somebody sat in their room and thought that name up, it'd be a shitty name. but
Yo, man, that's one
but
of my
but
questions. Like, what is the story behind Madball?
yeah, I
But
mean, you know, he kind of hijacked it from like the toy, and but also, you know, I was known to have, you know, I unfortunately inherited a bad temper. Um, you know, probably a lot of it learned behavior, but whatever the case, you know, I had a tendency that if you poke me enough, I could kind of turn into a mad ball, turn into a maniac. And so between that kind of personality flaw or whatever you want to call it. And then just the fact that, Vinny had too much time on his hands sometimes and was like, would watch TV a little, a little too much sometimes. I don't know. He just got, he just one day started calling me Madball, like kind of, from that whole Madball thing that was constantly on TV, like the commercial, Madball, Madball. And he just started literally kind of saying that I'm a Madball, Madball. So yeah, dude, it was like, what? Like I didn't love it at first.
More
And,
like an
and
insult.
but it stuck. It stuck. And then now I've grown to like appreciate it,
Yeah.
But like I said, if someone started a band called Madball today and just Googled it, like some ideas or like AI'd it or like did some random, I'd be like, I don't know about that name. But since it comes from a different era and a different time and from Vinny, of course, the Godfather,
Yeah.
and then like just all the factors that came into play with that nickname, it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? We got quite literally Godfathered in. So like the name, the
100%.
name can run. The name can run. But I don't know if I'd name the band Madball today if I was starting a band in 2023. But anyway, that's kind of a little bit of the story. Yeah, it was a nickname that soon after became the concept of Madball music. And that also obviously is because I used to sing with AF. So they were like, yo, this kid needs an outlet. This kid needs a little bit of his own kind of platform. And between Vinny and my brother, they were like, we're gonna do this thing and we're gonna call it Madball. Like I guess we're running with the Madball thing. And sure enough, man, I did some old AF songs and you know, 30 whatever years later, here I am, man.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy, man. You guys are, just below the Godfathers. You were created by the Godfathers, the hardcore, man. What a
Yeah, man.
crazy, what a crazy life. Because you hear about, the squats and in the city and shit like that. Then you intentionally moving to the city and to be
To
a
the
part of
squad.
that life is
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like, I couldn't see like my 16-year-old self probably surviving that lifestyle. The way I was brought up anyway, like it just wouldn't have made sense for me to go that route. Like
For sure. For
I'd
sure.
be dead fucking quick, probably.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that nearly was the case for me. But I mean, thankfully, the music was always there to kind of just when you're just about to fall off the cliff or jump off it, something with the music would would snag you and be like, yo, I got you. Like
Yeah.
so music, huge factor in why some of us survived this thing because not everybody survived it. And then also family, and also later on in life, meeting my lady who became my wife and the mother of my kids. Those kind of things definitely factored in because I had many eras or periods of time, in New York where like I was going a very bad route. It wasn't just one, it was like an early period and then it was like a middle period and then it was like the last period where it was like, yeah, things weren't gonna end well. And so different things sort of, you know, took me out of that element and that environment. And I gotta say, I gotta give a lot of props to hardcore, like that scene, that culture, like that music definitely was one of those things that always kind of was there for me, to release that anger or release that frustration, whatever it is. I mean, sometimes it got released in, extracurricularly, with other activities, but like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's always been my saving grace. But yeah, to answer your question, it was pretty nutty for me to move to the city to go to a squat, no less. And I had a little loft bed above the bathroom, and sometimes mice and rats would crawl on. Every now and again, I'd get a rodent crawl on my face. It was kind of gnarly, man. I'll be honest with you, but man, you learn, and I chose that. I didn't have to do that, but I had a lot of dysfunctional things going on in my life, my family life. My parents had been split up for a while, and I was like kind of bouncing around. I was living with my brother Rudy that was the last place I was living, and I was kind of just like sleeping on his couch and like, you know, because like I was having issues with my mom. It was just my life was kind of a mess anyway. And
Yeah.
New York was always a place that I thought was like awesome. Like I loved the vibe, even though it was dangerous and whatnot. I loved the energy there. I loved the people there. And of course, I loved the music and whatnot. So all those things attracted me to want to like be in New York. I was like, man, I'm in Florida in this random little city, town, whatever. And I'm like, I need more than this, you know. No knock on Florida because Florida's cool. I have a love, I have love for Florida, but um, yeah, at that time I needed more. I needed more, and luckily I was gonna go to New York whether I got the blessing from my family or not. But thankfully, I had my brother Raj there who took me in and like you know more or less looked after me, and the elders they all looked after me, Vinny and Will Shepler and Matt Henderson, other
Man,
friends, you know.
that's a
Yeah.
crazy group to have looking out for you, man. That's
Yeah,
that's
man.
just
Yeah,
like
man.
and like moving to New York and the and knowing about AF and you already had like Madball kind of started. Did you realize like the magnitude of all of it at the time, or was it just what you were doing, just your life? You didn't give a you didn't look
I'm
at it that
only
way.
I, I'll be honest with you, man. I'm only now noticing the magnitude of what it all is, be honest, man. Like, you know, like it was all just like, you know, it's all relative, you know. It's like I was just living it, you know, like AF to me, I mean, still to this they were the ones like with hardcore, of course. But I'm very biased because it's my brother. Um, but it's pretty good way to get started in hardcore. You know, it's a pretty good way in. I mean, they were the shit, of course. I always thought that they were, you know, one of the not only one of the New York originators, but one of the New York bands that did it the best. You know, and then obviously other bands came after them that represented very well. Um, but yeah, man, I didn't realize like what it would all become, you know. And then even when Madball started, you know, it's not like, you know, we're little brothers of the Rolling Stones, you know, so it's not like when we got ushered in, you know, there's I think there's sometimes a misconception out there that like for sure we got the endorsement and we got the cosign from Agnostic Front. Yes, that is a given. I'm Roger's younger brother, the whole nine, the whole story. So of course we got the cosign from the G's, you know, the OGs now. Um, but that, you know, you got to think about that. Like I said, it's all relative. It's like we're still talking about underground hardcore, and we're talking about a time period when we came in where hardcore was on a downslope. Okay, so it was on a downslope. Like it wasn't like the mid '80s where things were like going buck wild and the shows were like packed and full. You know what I mean? Like um, late '80s into early '90s hardcore was kind of rough in New York and maybe everywhere else as well. There was a period of time where it was just kind of rough, you know, like, and so point being is like when we got our start, we didn't come out and play to like 1,000 people right off the top. We played to like 50 people, you know, we played to like 100, you know, like, so we really had to like kind of start from scratch and pay our dues, even though there were always a percentage of people that were like, oh, that's Madball, that's dudes from AF. That's so there was always that respect and that love and that regard. But there was also a lot of like, hey, that's cool and all, but what do you have to offer? Like, you got to prove yourself. Like, I love AF and everybody does, but like, what are you doing? Like, you know, because that could be whack. Just because I'm related to them, and just because some of the dudes are in my band doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be as good or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I think we part of you know what I'm saying now leads up to the fact that I feel like we always had a little bit of a chip, like we're gonna have to prove ourselves here, you know, because not only the lineage that we have to represent the old timers well, but now we're the young bloods, we gotta like represent the culture and ourselves and the old timers. There's a lot on our shoulders. Like we better come we better come hard,
Yeah.
type of shit, you know.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense because a lot of people, may feel entitled to like they already have a spot like in the hardcore scene because
Exactly.
of who they know or their lineage, like you said. But
Yeah.
you had the
Yeah.
right mindset, like I got something to fucking prove because
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
shit just ain't given to people,
That's
and
exactly
yeah.
it. And that's what I wanted. That was ultimately the point I'm trying to make is because sometimes people are like, oh, but you know, he was handed that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I wasn't handed anything. I mean, I was uh, helped out along the way. I was being schooled, I was being like ushered in, but I wasn't handed $1 million and a crown and a golden crown and a scepter and like a throne. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm grateful for being ushered in by the people that I was ushered in by. But it's a lot of work behind it, man. It was a lot of a lot of growing pains and whatnot. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, it's been an interesting ride, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
it's still going.
yeah. So now like doing like your time with AF before like Madball and shit, there's
Yeah.
been stories here and there of you finally leaving the city with AF and like going on tour and shit. Do you
Mm.
remember some of your first like times either coming out of the city or eventually making your way to Detroit? Was that with AF first or did Madball come on their own?
No, AF. That was with AF, and that was later on because I had come out with AF. I don't think I ever came out to. I don't know if I ever came out to Detroit in the '80s. I'm not sure about that. I know I was in Chicago in the '80s with AF. Because I remember there was this infamous story, and I'll let Jimmy G tell it one day because he tells it best. But Murphy's Law and AF in like '85 in like Chicago, and like a bunch of people got arrested at a hotel. It was like this whole crazy story, but I was there. But like so so yeah, my whole thing with that is like I would go on tour with AF as a kid because like I said, I'd be visiting New Jersey, and so my brother would scoop me up, and then I'd go with them, or like maybe they would be on tour and they'd be coming down to Florida, and then they'd snag me up, and I'd come up the coast with them or something like that. And my family was cool with it because there was so much craziness and turmoil and random, you know, chaos going on in my household that like I think Roger and my siblings and my mom thought maybe it's a good little break for this guy, even though I'm going into an environment that's chaotic as well. But it's like music, it's positive chaos. So yeah, I had been doing that with AFs throughout the '80s. Like I was with AF when they toured with GBH on the East Coast. Yeah, that's like some pretty classic stuff.
Fuck yeah.
Vandals. Um, so I met my boy Dougie McKinnon, actually a dear friend of mine who's a great dude across the board. But I met him when he was drumming with the Vandals. Man, who else? Like, there's just so many things. Obviously, the many CBGB's things, live at the infamous live at or famous live at CB's. Yeah, I had been with AF a bunch through a lot of different times. But the first time in Detroit was on that metal tour, that Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, Malevolent Creation. Um, I think they called it um, something ball, headbang, not headbangers ball, something ball,
I'm a
some
little
kind of
younger than you, so I don't know, man.
something with the word ball in it, like
Okay.
like some kind of ball, like as in a gathering or whatever. But like and that was a time that I really remember being in Detroit, and I want to say that might have been '92 or '93. It could be right on the cusp of '92, '90, right around there. But Madball was a concept and was technically a band, but we weren't active. And I was on tour with AF as a roadie. Um, and then obviously I would come out and sing. By that point, I'm a little older now. I'm 16, probably, something like that. So I'm, older, than I was when I was a real little kid doing it. Um, and so yeah, that was and then actually what happened was when we got to Detroit, my brother had to go home for like a hernia surgery or some kind of a he had some kind of medical thing that happened like 2 days before Detroit. And so on that tour, I was actually the singer for Agnostic Front at that show in Detroit, which
Damn.
was a lot of pressure for me because
Yeah.
that was the first one I had to do all on my own, and it was Detroit, and I know Detroit's a hardcore city, like they love their hardcore, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, man, they're expecting to see AF, all these older tatted up guys, like, AF's AF,
Yeah.
and I wasn't that dude at the time. Like I was a skinny little, had maybe one or two tattoos, little wiry teenager, So I'm thinking, man, I hope they like it. And I think they did, man. I think they, I did my own version of AF, but I think they were cool with it.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm sure you've definitely brought the energy. I've seen the shows from '92 to fucking 2023, and you definitely have the same stage presence, man. Like you never lost it, and even the name
Thanks.
Madball, like it could even describe your stage presence, to a
Uh,
T. you know,
I guess it does. Yeah, it all sort of. I guess it was all meant to be. I guess, man. But yeah, I mean, actually, I think in those days I had terrible stage presence. I mean, no, I had that like raw, pissed off thing going, but I didn't have. I mean, this is me being critical of myself. I didn't have that comfort, or that rhythmic comfort. As that's the best way I can describe it. Like, you know, um, I have a sense for like rhythm because I grew up with hip hop. Like I love, but like I wasn't in those early Madball days. Like I was just learning, man. I was figuring it all out. I feel like we got better as the years went on. Like I think now our live show is even better than it was then because it's like we've finally grown into, the band that we are kind of thing. But anyway, thank you for that.
yeah,
For that compliment. But yeah, back then it was what, man, yeah, and that's when I met, when I went to Detroit, that's when I met Ronnie and all Jeff and all the Cold as Life guys, like that whole crew,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And was
Yeah.
it that show you remember meeting them for the first time, or was it
I,
on
I
a
I
separate
believe
occasion?
so. I don't think it was any time before that. I feel like it was that show. I mean, they're kind of similar. They're a little older. A couple of them are a little older. I forget what Ronnie was like, maybe a year or two older than me, and like they're all like a 2 to 3 to 4 years older. Like that. Like they're
Yeah.
older than me by a little bit. So, but we were, I guess, closer in age than like the AF guys, because even though not that the AF guys are like super old. I mean, Vinny's an exception. He's ageless though, but
Beautiful
like
man.
those guys are like the OGs. You know what I mean? Like they're like my brother's like 10, 11 years older than me, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So they're like further up there. But like the Cold as Life guys were kind of in the middle, and then I was kind of younger, but like I was kind of close in age, I guess you could say. So yeah, we kind of clicked, we kind of bonded, like they were like, oh, what happened to your brother? And we told them the story, and then they were like, yo, you did good, man. Like they were giving me a lot of props, a lot of love, and I never forgot that because it was my first show that I had to do on my own, and I didn't really want to do that job. I even told my brother I don't want to do it, but I'll do it because I have to, because you're my brother, and like, yo, I'll do it. But like, I didn't want to. um, but I never forget that the Colas Life crew, the CTYC boys, like that, they all gave me a lot of love, and they showed me a lot of love and respect. And then soon after that, Madball started getting more active, and so we invited them to play at CBGB's. We invited them to New York. We had a cookout on Vinny's roof.
There's a
A lot
famous
of fun.
photo, I think, too, on the roof.
Yeah,
I've seen it floating around.
oh yeah, man. We had a lot of fun, man, and then you know, yeah, it was a good time, man. And like I kept in touch with a few people, like Ronnie, rest in peace. Like him and I would actually write letters to each other. How crazy is that? Like nowadays, it's like FaceTime, Instagram, blah 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 blah. Everything's like accessible, but back then it was like we were almost like pen pals, and then like phones were like at someone's house or like the payphone,
Right.
like so it was like, yeah, it was cool, man. But I had an instant bond. So when, obviously when he got murdered, I was very sad about that. It broke my heart because, that was my homie. But then we kept a good relationship with the rest of the guys, you know.
Yeah, hey, cool, man. That's a good thing too. I mean, you guys can obviously relate not only through the music, but like similar lifestyles at a young
Yeah,
age. Like, you just attract your kind of people. So
that's it.
yeah.
They were real from the streets and same as us, man. Like we were just living a similar life, but just different cities, you know.
Would you like the first time like you came in contact with those guys, was it like well you instantly knew it's like the same like type of animal, or was it like were you just like
Well,
just some
I mean, they were some of them were different types of animal in their appearance. You know, I could tell we were kind of like cut from a similar cloth as far as just like, having that angst, that street smart thing, and like certain things, yes, that rough around the edges thing, yes. But the one thing I will say where Detroit stood out is like they were wild with the ink, like with the tats, like they were advanced on that, like neck stuff, and like they were like, even though I came up with Roger and Vinny, who were like some of the more heavily tattooed people in the New York scene, like Vinny had that little devil on his neck, and people were
yeah.
like, "Oh shit, you got a thing on your neck," and he had that from like the '70s or something, or like early '80s. But like Detroit took it to another level, like face shit and like the shit that's like that's like nothing today. Nothing, no big deal for a kid to have a side of a face tattooed, but Detroit was one of the places where I saw that early on. So they kind of had the look down, like they had that rough look going for them, like
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey man, they still
some of
do.
them did for sure. Yeah,
Just
still
older
do,
and
still do.
scarier.
Yeah, right, right.
It's like
But yeah, no, like that. But yeah, we could kind of bond. There's certain people you just bond with, over the years. Like there's certain camps that you click with,
mhm.
from different places around the world, and you know, when we're talking Detroit, obviously they stand out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. How's it feel to like have it come sort of like full circle again with Jeff back and Cold as Life and getting the invite to play whatever reunion or comeback show, whatever you want to call it, man? How does it like does it all just feel like normal how it did, or is it feel
Well,
bigger to you because of the
so
circumstance?
much has happened, right? Like with us, everybody's had their own personal journeys and then their own journeys as a band. I mean, obviously, we had some bumps in the road, but we stuck with it, and we're still like this is like what we do, But like, um, unfortunately, Cold as Life had a few bigger bumps in the road, and they for one reason or another they couldn't keep the band going, like I'm sure they wanted to or would have wanted to do. But hey, it's never too late, and it's like you said, I don't know what you want to call it, a comeback or whatever you want to call it, but like it's cool that they're pulling it together, and that um Jeff got past his stuff that he had to go through, um which was no joke. um and yeah, man, and like it's cool that they're able to pull together, pull the squad together to do it again, because I know how important it is to have that release, to be able to do that. I know that I know what it means for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I know that it's one of the things that's kept me alive. So I get it, man. I get it. And then, yeah, I feel, honored to be asked to play that show, man. I mean, it's crazy. The lineup is crazy.
It is fucking crazy. Like
It's bananas.
even for these type of big shows to happen in Detroit, like we just had that that Tied Down Fest the past 2 years and shit
Right.
like that. That's like a new like thing for us. I know there's always been like big giant festivals all over in different states and shit, but for it to
Sure.
happen in
Yeah.
our hometown and for the people to put their neck on the line and invest in such these huge shows, it's cool to have people come to our city and see our scene and have the bands want to come and enjoy it at the same time, man. It's unheard of. So
And they need to, bro. They need to, because for me, Detroit was always one of those stops where, like, Detroit's a rough city, man. Detroit's been through a lot,
yeah,
working class, hard city. And like that fuels the music. Clearly, it fuels Cold as Life, Hard as Nails, bands like Negative Approach, and like, like a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, for sure.
there's a hard lineage there in Detroit, for our type of music, and it's a reflection of the atmosphere, the environment, and whatnot. So like it was always one of those cities that like really was hardcore city, in like every way. And so like, yeah, it's good to have something be represented there, man. It's good to have a fest or whatever. I mean, I started doing my festival way back when, Black and Blue Bowl, when there were no fests going on. Not that we're the first people to ever do hardcore festivals, but like there was like silence with hardcore festivals. And then my partner and I decided to start doing Black and Blue in New York City for that same reason. It's like, yo, we need to put New York back on the map. Like New York's an important city for hardcore. Like, yo, this is the birthplace of, all our bands and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. So again, not to get focused on that, but like now, since that time period, there's obviously been the birth of so many other fests. Like This Is Hardcore in Philly and, stuff on the West Coast. And I mean, it's great. It's great for the culture, but Detroit definitely needs to be represented for sure, without a doubt, and I'm happy to go over there and put my 2 cents in the game too. I'd be offended if I wasn't asked to play.
Right? Yeah. I was offended you weren't, I knew they had something planned with you guys. I'm like, why the fuck are they tied down? Like, what's the deal here?
Well, the Cold as Life thing, that's I'm happy to be playing that, man. That makes a lot of sense, with the history.
Oh, it's huge, man. It's gonna be fucking history. It's gonna be
What's the size of the place? Is it a big place?
Yeah, it's big. I know Tied Down Fest is sold out last year, or back in June. It sold out, and I think they sold 2,000 tickets. But with all the band people and shit like that, I think the capacity is just over like 2,500. And I know they're pretty close to this thing selling out, man. So there's gonna be a lot of fucking people there.
That's all. That's dope.
Yeah, and like just as you to imagine this place called the Russell Industrial Center, and at some point I believe it was just like a factory, automotive shit, but it's basically just a burnt out building, like a burnt out complex.
Right.
So it's now turned. There's some like artist studios and shit like that, but they have a giant venue in there too that they really, they're just recycling what they have to work with in the city, which is awesome. It's a perfect venue for a hardcore show.
Right. It kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, man, it's really cool. Yeah. And so. I mean, it doesn't get any better with the whole fucking lineup. It really represents the era of Cold as Life and shit like that, with all the bands that are coming through, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you got a good representation of like, older, more established bands mixed with like some younger bands that
Mindful, fucking Never Ending Game. Oh, it's gonna be great.
A bunch. A bunch. It's cool, man. It's a cool lineup. It's a well-rounded, good lineup, and it's fun, man. It's always fun to play those kind of things too, because it's like, keeps you sharp. For guys like us, it keeps us sharp. Everybody wants to bring their A game.
Sure.
So yeah. And we haven't been in Detroit in a while. We've been on the outskirts.
Yeah. You guys went to Flint last year or something like that. Yeah.
I feel like last couple of times we've been in Michigan, it's been like right outside, and that's not anything that we've, that's not been on our request.
Right.
That's just been like, for one reason or another, like my our agent or whatever thought that was a better option, or that was the only option at the time, like one thing or another. But we haven't played Detroit proper in a little while, in a few years, and so I'm excited to get back to the D.
Sure. Yeah. I know the last time you guys did play, it was December of 2019 with the Old Firm Casuals. You guys came through, played at the Magic.
Okay, so we did play. Okay, so that's not too crazy, because then you had the whole pandemic bullshit and all that. Yeah. So that kind of almost, you don't even count that, right? Because that's like 2-3 years of like misery for everybody. So so 2019 is not that crazy far back. But yeah, I remember that now with Old Firm. Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah.
And then I mean, you were even speaking about your fest, the B&B Bowl, man. I went.
Yeah.
That's where I got this hat from back in May. I came out there, man. And
nice. Respect, man.
Yeah, dude. I love that place. The Monarch. I went last year to the Triple B showcase and like Days Records thing. I was like, man, I got to come back here again. Then fucking next thing you know, you guys got the, from Black and Blue Bolt there, a sick lineup, fucking Death Threat, Bulldoze, dude, for fucking Painted Truth. I was like, bet I'm there.
Yeah, that's it. That was a fun one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we got a good relationship with the people that run that whole Monarch and all that. So yeah, that's been a good it's been a good go-to spot for a lot of people, it seems like lately, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely
about to
good
go play
connection.
there now.
Oh,
I'm about to play there in a few days,
oh
actually.
yeah.
Yeah. The Triple B thing that you
Same
mentioned. I'm
thing. Yeah,
doing
it
it.
was just
I'm
last year
doing
when I
that.
went. Yep.
Yep.
It's
I'm
such a
doing
good
that
time, man.
showcase.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
they collaborate, Streets of Hate, fucking Triple B and Days Records, they really put on
Yep.
a good showcase of like modern hardcore. But it's cool they're also including some of the old school shit. It's
Yeah.
really
Well,
cool, man.
somebody's got to school these youngsters, right?
That's it. You got to teach them a lesson, man. Got to show the energy.
I'm teasing, man. But no, it's cool. It's cool to be that. I'm all about that. Like I've always been about that, trying to bridge that gap between like new generation because we were that new generation at one time. Like we were the young kids, you know, you know, that were like urban or whatever, that liked hip hop and dressed a little different and were
Yeah.
like made music that was a little bit different than traditional hardcore. Like we were those kids, so I get it. And I've always tried to connect with whatever generation. And now there's like a whole big new wave of hardcore. So like, and we're still active as ever. So, it's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool to combine all that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. You even jumped on that "I'm a Pain of Truth" track, man. That shit was so good. I was like,
Yeah, those are the homies, man.
yeah, like I wasn't surprised. Like I was expecting like a cool guest spot because I listened to a podcast where he had said like, every track has a different guest spot. I was
I heard that.
God damn it! I was like, Freddie ain't on it. Then I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
No, but that band's fucking on fire right now. Shout out
No,
to those
they
guys.
Michael hit me up and was like, "Yo, I got a song that I think would be perfect." And I heard it and immediately liked the song, because it's like that's hard, man. When you're gonna do guest vocals on something, like you want to, I don't charge money, and I don't like. I'm not into all that crap, but I want to like the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to be into what I'm doing, and it doesn't always pan out that way, but luckily, most of the time it does. But like, yeah, no, that was one that was like, I was like, yo, this song goes hard. I was like, I like it. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
I don't know, let's move on a little bit. Let me ask you this. Whenever you come to Detroit, is there any certain thing you look forward to doing or seeing? Like, considering you have time, is there anything that you like to do when you come here, or any favorite restaurants or anything that you
I
have in
don't
the back
have
of your head?
I don't have any specific restaurants in Detroit for some reason, and that's weird because I'm a food guy. Like I like to go and find like quality food in whatever city I'm in. Doesn't
Sure.
matter. But like I can't think of a specific restaurant. Really, it's just about like playing the city, seeing old friends. Obviously, we got a lot of ties to people in Detroit. Old friends in Detroit. So you can always expect a few heads to pop out, and that's always cool. Um, yeah, what else,
Oh,
man? Yeah,
yeah.
that's mainly it, man. Really,
Sure.
Detroit pizza a little bit, that
That's it.
just because I mean
Hey,
New York is the New York are the kings, but like, hey, everybody's got their own little style, and I can get behind it. I can
right.
get behind it.
I say, watch
Yeah.
what you say. You're fucking representing New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, New York. They reign supreme.
Yeah, I went to New York for the first time when you guys did that show in the park, that first show with
Oh yeah.
Wisdom and Chains. I fucking traveled out for that, man. There's no
Oh,
way I was gonna
cool.
miss that, dude. We were
Good
fucking,
for you.
we were have our fucking face smothered, no fun, no fun, no concerts. It's like I'm definitely going to this
I'm
shit.
going.
Yeah, I fucking drove out, dude. That was such a good turnout on a perfect day, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always said, so don't take offense to this, but I
No.
said, I've always said there's no reason for me to go to New York City. I was like, I like where I'm at. I don't want all
Yeah.
that chaos, all that fucking craziness, all the
Yeah. I,
people.
I feel you, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
And
It's
I
too
mean, I'm in
much
like a suburban
sometimes.
area. It's not,
Yeah.
crazy compacted, but I
Yeah.
just thought I wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But so when you guys put on that show, it was like, well, I don't have a choice. I'm going to fucking New York City. And as soon as I got out of that fucking Holland Tunnel, man, I was
Yeah.
like, I like this place, man. Just something about the atmosphere. It just washed away all perceptions I had of the city, and I've been back fucking 3 times since.
There you
I
go.
I just love it, dude. Every time I go to
Yeah.
Tompkins Square Park, I smoke a joint, drink a beer, hang out with the crazy people. Because I felt, I'm sure at a certain time you felt like at home at Tompkins Square Park.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's crazy to say that because I mean I remember Tompkins Square being not as nice as it is today. I mean, yeah, it's still kind of wild, little homelessness and whatever. That's New York, but um, yeah, it used to be it used to be way worse, man. It used to be like junkie haven, like crime, crazy. It was
Yeah,
Tompkins Square was no joke at
yeah.
one
Well,
time.
I mean,
Yeah.
even as being from like Detroit and shit, when I went to Tompkins, it took me a second to look around, but to notice all the fucking syringe caps everywhere, dude, little orange tips all over the place, and every bush, every crack. I was like,
Oof.
damn, it is fucked up
Yeah.
out here, man.
That's the
Yeah,
rough part. That
yeah,
and that kind of was a resurgence recently. Like it's kind of like going back to like the old days with certain things. It's
yeah,
wild. I don't get it. But I mean, it's a cool. Yeah, it's like you said, man. People either get the energy there or they don't.
yeah,
I know a lot of people that hate New York. I know a lot of people that are like don't want to mess with New York at all. Like
yeah.
you know,
I,
but
I'll say I definitely fell in line. Like I felt like I could adapt quickly. Like, and even seeing like the young skateboarder kids and the people playing basketball. There's even kids like up on top of the bathrooms, like jumping around and skateboarding on top of the bathrooms at Council
oh
or
yeah.
at Tompkins. I was like, I'd be
I
doing
grew
the
up in
same
those
shit.
basketball courts, man. I grew up playing in those basketball courts.
Man,
Like I lived on 10th Street between B and C, which is right there, one side of the park. So I just would walk a half a block with my basketball and shoot hoops there, or do dips on the little bars and whatever. There was always dip bars and like pull up bars and like little area there and I mean people doing jailhouse workouts there all the time. Like I grew up in those, like I said, those years, man, where I was out there, playing ball right in that park where you saw, it's cool. It's cool. New York definitely has a vibe and an energy. And like I said, you either get it or you don't.
yeah.
Whether you live there your whole life or you didn't or whatever. Some people, you either get it or you don't. You
Yeah,
know.
I definitely got it. As soon as I got there, I was like, for sure, this is fucking awesome. But like I said,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't have any
I'm
fucking
not
business.
moving here.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm not moving here
yeah,
tomorrow,
yeah.
but
I
I'll
like my
come and
little
visit.
quiet suburb. I live in a cul-de-sac, man. I mind my
Nice.
business. Fuck
Yeah.
everybody else. I don't
I
need
love that.
junkies knocking at my door.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell
so,
no.
let me ask you this, man. Since we're on the whole topic of like cold as life and shit, what what's one of your favorite songs by them? If you're gonna listen to a Cold as Life song, is it gonna be the
Oh
Oh
my
Shit with
God.
Ronnie, or is it gonna be off the Born to Land Hard? Where you going?
But all that stuff. I mean, it's hard to, Born to Land Hard was a hard record, man, but like, obviously, I'm going to be partial to the old first stuff because that's my first introduction to Cold as Life. Like, got to remember, like, I met Cold as Life, the original squad, it was Ronnie, Jeff, Roy, like, so like, um, I think who was in the band at that time, Jay Way. I forget the original squad that was there, but I mean the main guys. I'm telling you. Um, but that first like demo or whatever it was that I heard, that shit just like it's hard.
Oh, it's brutal. Yeah,
Like the I Can't Breathe or whatever. Right? That's the right name for the title for
yeah,
the
yeah,
song. Like
yeah, yeah,
songs like that, hard. That's
yeah.
that goes hard. I mean, but then again, yeah, they came back with that, Born to Land, that next record, that record, Born to Land Hard or whatever. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is hot, like whole
Sure,
thing is hard. So yeah, I mean, I like it all, man. I support Cold as Life
sure.
and all that they do, man, because they're one of those people where you can feel the struggle in their music. Like I hope like that would be the case with us. In certain bands, you can feel the angst, the
Mhm.
struggle, maybe the pain, maybe whatever, the shame, the whatever the feeling is. I mean, I think that should be the case with any kind of music, um, period. But with hardcore, it's like it's so abrasive, it's so in your face,
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be hard. So like you gotta, it's not just about like, oh, that's a hard breakdown. You gotta feel that hurt and that anger. You gotta feel it. And Cold as Life always was able to project that in their music. like it's same like us, same like certain bands. It's like you
Yeah,
got to project that.
that's it. Well, look, I got a couple more questions for you. Um, this is a personal question. Is is CTYC in the lineup this time around in Detroit, man? You guys gonna play
Ah,
that?
oh my God, good question. It might have to be.
I think it's
Excuse me a
almost
second. Let me
required
take
at
a.
this point, sir.
Oh, excuse me. Let me take a little sip of this. This is the only time I'll rock my own stuff. I got a James Coffee and Madball collaboration coffee mug right here.
Oh, that's awesome,
That's the
man.
only time I'll rock my own gear because I don't rock my own gear, but I drink
Yeah.
coffee out of my own cup. I guess you could say.
Hey, yeah. I have a coffee cup with my last name on it, so I guess
Oh, there you go. So I
kind of the
guess it's
same thing.
okay. It's okay. Yeah, yeah. You get it. We get past. We get it
Yeah,
past.
yeah.
But no. To answer your question, I haven't even put a ton of thought into the set list for that. But now you got my brain twirling, and I mean, yeah, CTYC might be in order. It might be. It might be.
Dude,
It
dude.
might be. It might be the. It might be the. It might be the time
Yeah. And
to
there's only a
bring that.
couple
We bring
videos
it
of
out.
that song live. You got that fucking 95 Dynamo one, and then you did what it was, Back to School Jam or something. You guys did it too. That's all that's on the internet as far as I'm aware.
We
But
used to have it more in our line, like when that album first came out. We used to have it. I mean, because let's be honest, we didn't have a lot of music at that point. So,
yeah.
so you had to kind of have everything. You had to kind of play everything you had. But we used to play that way more frequently in the '90s, and then it stayed for a long time. And then at some point, other songs just came into play. So it's like you gotta like part ways with certain songs and introduce other songs, and then other songs become like fixtures.
Mhm.
It's kind of what happens as you grow as a band, as you grow and you have more albums and more music and stuff. So, um, but uh, but yeah, no, I think CTYC is a must do, at that show, man.
Yeah,
To
that
pay
makes
homage
sense.
to Ron, rest in peace, but also Jeff and the boys, because Jeff is killing it, man. Jeff does his thing, like represents it very well. So like,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
gonna be a cool
pay
set, man.
homage. Yeah, pay homage to the crew.
For sure. And is so, man, is Hoya gonna be on this one or no? Is he out? Is he out? Is Hoya gone forever?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not going to be there. And
I had to ask.
and as
I was hoping maybe
no,
one last more. One last one.
right, that would have been cool, but no, he's out, man. He's out for now, and
Cool.
hold on, let me take one more little sip.
Yeah.
But I got a dry mouth, so I want to speak clearly at this
No, you're
point. No,
good, man.
he's not. Yeah, he's no longer in the band. And I mean, I don't think I have to get into crazy
No,
details
no,
about
no,
it because he
no, not
kind
at
of
all.
made it. He already kind of announced it on my bro Toby's podcast, and
Oh,
then
okay,
like
okay, yeah, I didn't
at
get into that yet, but I'm definitely gonna
yeah,
do.
he did that. He made an announcement on that, and then
Yeah.
later on, like reiterated things on his own personal like whatever social media
Sure.
thing. So yeah. I mean, it's no bad blood, like no beef between us. It's just like we get to that point, man. You get to that point. It's like sometimes marriages last forever, but sometimes they go 20 years and it's time for a divorce. People got to go and move on their way in different
Sure, man.
directions, and
Yeah, brother, totally
it is what it is.
understandable. Yeah,
It is
no
what
hard
it is.
feelings, no questions asked. I just
No,
know
all
for
good.
him,
Yeah,
whatever
no,
he's
I got
doing
no
in his
problem with
life,
it.
it's got to be for the best. And
More,
so,
more power to him, man.
yeah,
Exactly. Like I I wish him nothing but the best with whatever he
yeah,
does.
yeah,
But I got to keep this ball rolling too. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to
yeah,
keep I got to keep this machine running, man. Because I've invested my whole life into this thing, and like
yeah.
we still have a lot to do. We still have a lot to offer. People still fuck with us. Excuse my language, but people
Good.
still ask us to play all around the world. People still want to hear our music, and we still can physically put it out the way present it the way we want to present it.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, we it's on and popping,
Yeah,
as
it
we
definitely
say.
is. Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, you know, it's it's big shoes to fill for Hoya, but I know you guys got the right people to fill that when the time comes,
Yeah,
man. So I'm looking
yeah,
forward to who you guys got lined up. We'll find out
yeah.
eventually. Yeah.
We always got friends in the camp that are there, and like even right now, I mean, even before Hoya, left the camp, um, there was a lot of shows that he wasn't able to do
Mm-hmm.
for one reason or another. Couldn't make the shows, couldn't do the shows, and family stuff, whatever it was. And we had guys in our own camp that were like you know doing the job and killing it and helping us out in like so many ways. Shout out to Brendan, my homie Brendan,
Mm-hmm.
Big B, and like guys in Europe, my man Pete in Europe who stepped up big time. So I mean, we thankfully we have like talented people who are also like really good people, and hardworking people. So like, yeah, yeah. I mean, Hoya is Hoya. He's a personality. He's a character. He is who he is. Never gonna take that away from him. But like, yeah, no, we got people that can definitely handle the job and
Yeah.
and have been handling the job and doing well.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking
yeah.
forward to it, man. I just, we can wrap this up here, but I just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to do this, leading up to the Cold as Life show. I thought it makes sense to have some of the old heads on, kind of explain, your
Oh
guys'
yeah.
relationship with Detroit and Cold as Life, kind of leading up to the idea. And it means a lot because Madball's always been one of my go-to bands as far as I found out about you guys. But early
Appreciate it, man.
2000s. So it's honestly like me doing this whole thing, this whole podcast. I wrote down a list when I started this just under 3 years ago. And, you have some fucking names on the list that you may or may not be able to, have on. And it's just
Right.
truly a blessing and an honor you to finally have this happen, man.
Oh
So,
man, I'm happy to do it, man.
so thank you again.
And I feel flattered to be on that list. And yeah, man, happy to do it, man. No big deal at all. And happy to help push the show too. Not that it needs any pushing, because I think it's going to be a slam dunk across the board
Oh
anyway. But
yeah.
happy to help the homies in Cold as Life out, Jeff and the boys. Like I said, I have an old friendship, old ties with those guys, and nothing but respect for them. So I look forward to not only playing it but also seeing them play.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
excited about
it's
that,
gonna be
and
wild.
yeah, it should be a good time, man. I look forward to it for
Me
sure.
as well. Me as well. So
Yeah,
I'll let you go, man. I look forward to meeting you at the show, and
yeah. Sorry about the
hang out.
boring background, man. I'm like, I got a
Nah,
white a
no.
white wall and a white door. There's nothing.
I'm,
There's nothing exciting going on back here, bro. All the
I make up
excitement is
for it.
right here in this mug
There you
right
go. That beautiful
here.
face of yours, Freddy Madball. Thanks again, man. I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, dude.
Appreciate it, homie.
I'll
Hey,
see you around,
thanks.
man.
Glad
Thank
we
you.
finally made it happen, man.
Hell yeah. All right.
All the
See ya.
best. Say what up to
Yes.
your boy. Say
Hell
what up to
yeah.
your son.
All right. All right. All right. Thanks,
All right, bro. All right.
man. Let me end this.